Okay, on to chapter 47. Captain Moroni has raised this title of liberty among the Nephites. He's got all of these people to come and fight for these causes and to push back the efforts of Amalickiah to become the king of the Nephites. So when Amalickiah realizes he can't become the king of the Nephites, his next plan is, well, then I'll go down and become the king of the Lamanites and then eventually use them to take over the Nephite throne, right? So he escapes, goes down, plays really nice with the king of the Lamanites, gets him to think that Amalickiah has the king's best interest in mind, and then he gets him all ready to send his armies to go fight the Nephites, but most of the army doesn't want to. So they're led by a man by the name of Lahontai, and Lahontai takes those soldiers who don't want to fight to the hill Antipas, to a place called Oneida, and says, no, we're not going to go fight the Nephites. So the king gives Amalickiah charge of the loyal soldiers in his army, and they go and they camp at the base of this mount. And thus begins one of the saddest sequences in the entire Book of Mormon. Look closely at the wording in verse 6 regarding Lahontai and his men. They had appointed a man to be a king and a leader over them, being fixed in their minds with a determined resolution that they would not be subjected to go against the Nephites. Pretty powerful language. Fixed in their minds, determined resolution. We are not going to go fight the Nephites. So we're up on this hill. And so what does Amalickiah do? Verse 10, he sent a secret embassy up to the top of the mount to speak to Lahontai and say, come down to the foot of the mount and talk to us. That didn't work. He says, no way. Attempt number 1 didn't work. So what do you do if you're playing the role of a devil-like figure? Well, verse 11, it came to pass that when Lahontai received the message, he durst not go down to the foot of the mount. And it came to pass that Amalickiah sent again the second time, desiring him to come down. And it came to pass that Lahontai would not, and he sent again the third time. Persistence is one of the attributes of the devil. You just keep trying to tempt people to do things that will bring them into bondage ultimately. Well, that didn't work. Verse 12, it came to pass that when Amalickiah found that he could not get Lahontai to come down off from the mount, he went up into the mount, nearly to Lahontai's camp, and he sent again the fourth time. So now Amalickiah moves up with a small group of men just outside of his camp, and he sends in a guy for the fourth time, or a group, to say, come out. Lahontai, don't be afraid. You can even bring your guards with you if you'd like to protect you. Come out and negotiate with us. And he does. And they come up with a plan, and it doesn't strike anybody as odd or strange when you get to verse 18 that after they've come down and surrounded and they've created this pact, that verse 18 comes, and it came to pass that Amalickiah caused that one of his servants should administer poison by degrees to Lahontai, that he died. That's what happens when we give in to the lies of the devil, to the temptations of the devil. Something dies. It doesn't mean that it's a permanent death like it might be in this case for Lahontai physically. So then we come back with the whole army under Amalickiah's command. The king comes out. Amalickiah has one of his servants stab the king, and his servants flee. The king's servants flee. So Amalickiah calls, look, his own servants killed him. Let's go and tell the poor queen. So he consoles the queen and gets her to feel confident and comfortable with him and marries her. And now Amalickiah is the king of a much bigger nation than that which he had sought in the first place, the king, to be the king of the Nephites.